Alright, so what we're going to try to accomplish here is we're going to play all the mods Superflat with some restrictions. And we're going to try to get an all the mods star, or at least as close as we can. I've done Superflat before with all the mods, but I used structures on it. And so this time I'm going to try not to use structures, starting basically in just dirt. The restrictions that we're going to put on ourselves are that we're not going to be able to use things like mystical agriculture or productive bees. Basically, I'm going to try not to use anything that lets me freely duplicate resources. I really just don't like the feel of that. I like to have some sort of sense behind gathering resources. There is one exception that I'm going to allow to that strategy, and that's void mining. So void mining in any form will be allowed, whether that's something like Boon of the Earth or like a occultism miner. And then the other restriction that we're going to set on ourselves is that I can't accept any quest rewards from the Ultimods quests unless I've already found that item naturally. An example of this is like early on, I think when you pick up a piece of dirt, you can get a reward for an oak sapling. So we won't be able to accept that quest reward until we find an oak sapling naturally through the gameplay. So the goal of that is just to like basically for some items accelerate how much time we spend farming, um, but not to change what is possible inside of this playthrough. Sorry, little guy. Pretty nice finding some sheep right off the bat. Yes, I can already see the signs are being an issue. Well, I guess I might as well start digging a hole here. I, I want to I want to get my apotheosis world tiers up as fast as possible. That way I can get some better gear to farm. I'll probably lower the world tier back down so it's a little bit faster. I'm not quite sure yet. Yeah, just a little something here to keep me safe. What the? Where did he even come from? Uh, so I decided to build this little mob farm just to try to safely get a few items going. Yeah, so I wasn't off to a great start here, and to make things worse, I decided I was going to go ahead and make a mob farm 128 blocks above the surface, and that backfired. That was a total waste of time. I wasted the next several hours of my life building this pointless contraption. But on the plus side, I was able to find my first few pieces of apotheosis gear, so at least it wasn't all bad. And the real prize of this session was this guy, the Vindicator Apotheosis Invader, who was so charitable to me and gave me my first emerald. And so day two began. I started off by once again rebuilding the tiny mob farm I had that always gets blown up by creepers, and going out and hunting at night. Oh, sick! I could use this to make the spawn egg. Now, I don't know if it's apotheosis that makes these mobs spawn with the backpacks, but part of my plan going in was to be able to use these backpacks as early on storage. What I completely forgot about in my planning is that these backpacks also usually have pretty decent items rivaling what you might find inside of a village. So hunting down these skeletons and zombies wearing these backpacks became my new immediate priority. So I go out hunting every night looking for mobs wearing shiny armor and backpacks, and I finally run into this guy. And the funny thing is that I check out this backpack as I'm fighting and totally glaze over the fact that there's two saplings inside of it. It's not until I check again later when I get back to my base that I see it. This completely negates me having to do this tedious farm with a wandering trader, trying to gather emeralds from vindicators, or farming enough iron ingots to make a cauldron and then trade water to the wandering trader, all hoping for the RNG that it spawns, or that I get enough emeralds and then it finally spawns with an oak sapling. So here I was able to use this plum sapling, and thankfully, due to this mod, whenever you chop down the tree, it drops oak saplings as well as the fruit sapling. Now, as great as it is getting an oak sapling and finally having access to wood, that's not what my main goal was. Earlier, at the beginning of the video, I told you I wanted to get into the Bumblezone because that was going to give me access to stone and give me access to lava. So the real reason I'm growing these trees over and over again is because I want to get a beehive to spawn. But I had forgotten that you need to put flowers around the base of the tree if you want a beehive to have a chance to spawn. No shot. First try? Oh my god. For those of you who might be unfamiliar with the Bumblezone, this dimension is meant to look like the inside of a beehive, And as you can see, it is a pain in the butt to navigate if you don't have flight. Now I got pretty unlucky with my spawn into the zone. I am in a mess of this honeycomb crap, but it didn't take me too long to find access to my first stone. I don't know what was going on with my new brain whenever I saw this balloon. I was thinking I'm going to get up there and loot whatever is in that chest that's up there. I'm thinking there's a chest up there. And I saw the iron block, and for whatever reason, I'm just thinking in my brain that I'm going to find iron elsewhere. I don't need to grab this one. If I just grabbed this iron block and went home and not spent the next 3 hours plus roaming around the Bumblezone, I would have saved myself so much of a headache. So ultimately, I decided to go back to the overworld for a while. I ended up going back. I farmed a few more backpack mobs, and I end up finding this diamond backpack that is just loaded. And I'm a little bit torn, to be honest, with the broom. I don't want to just go right into having flight and negate some of my early struggles, but ultimately I decide that since I don't really have a way to get blood back into the broom, it's more of just kind of like a temporary benefit, and I'm just going to use it until it runs out of blood, and then that's it. But when it comes to the free supply camp, that's a different story. Uh, if you don't know, those free supply camps usually have hidden resources behind the walls or under the ground. If I had found that supply camp on day one, I could spawn a Space Wars camp, and inside of it would have 12 obsidian, a block of diamond, block of gold, a block of iron, I think multiple blocks. I could go straight into the nether, straight into the Twilight Forest, and completely negate any struggles within the overworld. So I'm going to hang on to it, but I have no intention of using it until it doesn't affect my progression anymore. So now there was just two things left that I wanted to accomplish to break through my initial time of the early game. The first one was to get water. I already had the bucket, so that was an easy trip. And the second one was just to get a little bit of iron. Now that I had my boon of the broom, I was going to fly around in the Bumblezone while I could, pick up some easy iron, and try to find a structure and see if I could get a little bit more out of that. And I got lucky and I found this little labyrinth type thing. Uh, this this was unfortunate. When I've done these in the past, I swear I've been able to get out of them easily. But maybe I'm just remembering incorrectly and remembering that I had flight. So almost immediately, almost immediately upon entering this labyrinth, my broom ran out of juice, which was very unfortunate. And I had quite a rough time getting out of this place. Now's probably a good time to bring up the popular commands that people use inside all the mods, which are slash home and slash back. Now, I'm not against using slash back when it pertains to getting to your body. If you're doing like a challenge playthrough. And the reason I'm not against it specifically for getting back to your body is because you can create a warp directly back to your body through the Tombstone mod, and you basically just combine. Every time you die, you get a key, and you combine that key with an Ender Pearl, and it warps you right back to your body. Getting an Ender Pearl is not a huge difficulty. I even end up crafting this warp key to get my body back at some point. So I'm not adverse to using the back command to get back to my body if I die. At least not once I've already had access to Ender Pearls. However, the home feature is something that I don't want to use. As an example, it could be possible for me to be completely stuck inside this labyrinth and having no way to get out except to warp out. So I don't want to use home to escape from somewhere that should be my doom, if that makes any sense. I'm an avid Applied Energetics fan, and finding these two copper ingots is massive for getting started. So finally back in the base, I smelted all the ore that I had gathered, And then I finally went through all the mods quest rewards and accepted only those items that I had already gotten. And I made sure to smelt one of my precious sand into glass so that I could accept the glass from the rewards. I planted my first crops with my sugar water, and now we are finally on our way to progressing through all the mods. We have so many doorways open with our newfound gains. Now I need to decide which way I want to go. So that wraps up the first playthrough. If you've stuck around to the end, I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.